Hi, my name is Kenny T. On my moment of the week this week, I decided to come down to House of Layla. It's a barbershop and salon. So I've got two of my barbermen right inside. One is called Movita and the other one is called Joe. Let's go inside, pay them a visit. Hi Tracy, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Very good, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you.
So I come here all the time.
Okay.
For the purpose of my viewers. Can you just quickly show us around before I get in the barbershop?
Okay, sure.
Sure.
Okay, so let's start with the salon.
Okay.
So this is the salon.
Okay, so what happens in here?
The plait hair, dye, as you can see.
Yeah.
Yes, we also do wash and blow in here.
Very nice.
Okay, you can come through.
What else?
It's the body.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
wash everything.
All right.
Okay, so this is the makeup station.
Wow.
We do makeup.
Okay. It's professional
And
makeup.
we sell some products. The Demafix.
Great.
We also do nails here.
Okay, so this is where the nails are done, huh?
Yes.
Very nice.
You come here.
Okay.
Also have a boutique. So this is our boutique.
Okay, I didn't know about this place.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
We only sell ladies' clothes.
Okay.
Yes.
Very nice. Just for ladies, huh?
Yes.
And
just
this
for ladies.
outside here, it's a sitting area.
Yes, the pool area. The
Okay.
pool area.
Wow. Very nice.
So while you're doing your spa treatments, we even give complimentary swimming. Yeah, even kids' birthday parties, we do.
Very nice.
Yes.
You take me to the barbershop now?
Okay, sure.
Right.
Yes. So this is where we do our massage from.
Yeah.
And this is our masseuse. Her name is Agnes.
Hi Agnes, how are you?
Thanks, how are you?
How's it going?
Cool. So far so good.
Nice.
So,
You want to tell us what happens here?
yes, what happens here is we do massages, we do waxing from here, we do facials. Yes.
Oh, great. Cool. Let's go to the barbershop now.
Okay.
Che, Joe,
Welcome.
how's it?
Okay. Good, good.
Thanks. Hello and welcome to the Kenny T One-on-One podcast. On the podcast today, we're privileged to host Mr. Owas Mwape. He's a childhood friend of mine. I've seen him grow and he's doing big things right now. Also, if you're watching us for the first time, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell button so that every single time we post an episode, you get notified. Owas, welcome to the podcast, man.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. It's good to see you, my man. I like it.
I wish that it's very rare that friends get an opportunity to interview each other.
Yeah, which is true. Yeah, you know, I was looking at it and I was like, Kenny, we should try from Kuseka and just do things.
No kuseka to ala seka. Oh, tell me, you're a filmmaker. What project are you working on?
Currently, I'm executive producing Inkondo, Zambezi Magic production that begins to air on the 5th of May. Yeah, it's pretty much a TV series, an adaptation of Isibaya that takes over from the spot where Zuva was. So
Okay.
in other words, we have taken up that prime for ourselves to now showcase Inkondo.
Sounds very interesting.
Well, it is very interesting. I think I love the plot because it has everything put together. And as a result, if you really are that sort of person that really loves to watch a good story being told in an indigenous way, I think this is a very good show to watch, actually.
Always tell me, are you more behind the scenes? Okay, where are you more? Front of the camera or behind the camera?
I think I'm an all-rounder, but I think I do more behind the scenes and, let me say, operations. Okay, because even on this project we are actually executive producing with my friend Mr. Jackson Banda, and we are trying as much as possible to just make it moving, you know what I mean? Yeah, that sort of stuff.
Something different, huh? Let's start from the beginning. Owas, where were you born? How many years ago?
I was born in Ndola, actually. That was 52 years ago, I would say. Yeah. Yes.
You know, problem pa social media. Bala tarike miaka abantu ka.
No,
You start calculating.
You know, quite where you can hide because you want to hide. But there is those ones that yeah, so that was 52 years ago. Yeah, Ndola. In fact, it was in Pamoze. And according to what I hear, you know, I was not there when I was born. My mother told me I was actually born at home. You get the point, yeah. So
what happened? Did labor come unexpectedly?
Yeah, I think it must have happened like that. So yeah, that's pretty much of what happened. And then rushed to Ndola Central Hospital. Before then, my father had to move to Ndeke Township, and that was the early years when he had just started working for Barclays Bank.
Oh, Bandara Valley Wambak Bank.
Yes.
In those days?
In those days, yes.
It wasn't easy, huh?
Well, it wasn't easy.
Because I remember when we were growing up in London, go to school, get educated so you can work in the bank.
Yes.
Or so you can be a lawyer. So it wasn't a small thing.
It wasn't. But you see, when you're young and you're born in that light, you just find yourself a mondi. And then you just feel like, oh, my father, oh, Jan.
Yeah.
And you see, those days when you worked for Barclays Bank, there was a lot of movements that was happening. Because I remember he was transferred to Kafio as accountant. Then he went to Choma. Then from Choma we came to Lusaka. From Lusaka then he went to Solwezi. So you can imagine. That's how I found myself at Kasempa Boys, actually. Yeah, because my father was manager Barclays Bank Solwezi. So I found myself at Kasempa Boys boarding school.
So how many were you in the family?
We're 10. Actually, we've lost 2. I've lost two sisters, yeah. So, yeah.
8.
Richmond, we're 10, yeah.
So, wapa number shan?
Papa number 3. I'm actually the third born.
Mwina mushi?
Is my immediate young brother. But when I say that, with my father, well, if to land but sometimes just for clarity, I'm basically his firstborn, because Narisangire, my 2 other elder sisters, Vivian and Gladys, here.
All right. So let's talk about your education.
Yeah.
Which primary school?
I started my primary school at...
Which one? Nursery school?
I was at St. Andrews. Yes, in You know, Ngawaingira Mundola, just opposite the police... Central Police there. There's a St. Andrews United Church of Zambia. That used to be a very powerful nursery school. So I started my nursery school from there at St. Andrews. Then my grade 1 started at Masala Primary School. Then I went to Kasenja in Kafue. Then I was at Adastra in Choma. Then I was at North Mid, pretty much. And then I had a stint at Olympia. You know, pretty much that. That's exactly how my education line has been. Then I had another stint at Copperbelt University, decided to do many other different things and all that. So I kept on moving in that line.
Moving up and down.
Yeah.
So these movements, didn't they disturb your education?
Not really, because actually I did very well, especially at at grade, not when I was in Lusaka, I think so. I think in Lusaka I hadn't done well because I was being playful, you know. But then when my father decided to go to Solwezi, when he was transferred there, he decided by some Bwesha school, you know, those days it was very common. By some Bwesha. So I found myself in the same grade with Robam and with Naena Bamu Bwesha, and then with my other late sister Bridget. That's how we found ourselves once to the same grade. But I think that didn't really hit me badly. At first I felt very, very annoyed about it. But then later on, yes, sana. But then later on, I discovered I think he did the right thing, because Naisa Monanjevera, I wouldn't have achieved what I had achieved in terms of education if he hadn't made that decision. So thank you, Mr. Ray Omwape.
So you're no junior?
Nina junior.
Okay, I didn't know this. So Owas, when you're growing up, who was your role model? Who did you want to be? Let's forget about who you are now.
Yeah, I think what I just needed is to live. And I needed to leave because I needed to have had the right experience. Because I love a lot of all these guys, philosophers like John Keats, when he said nothing ever becomes real until it is experienced. So I wanted to experience certain things about myself and then decide what I really wanted to do. But the good part is that from inception, I always knew I wanted to be in entertainment. So Robert and I, what we would do is, you know, I'm a flowers guy. When flowers are moving up and down, we would always mimic them to be people, and we are standing in front of that crowd, and then we are singing and all that. So yes, Robert and I, when we were at Kasempa Boys, we were in a
drama.
We were in drama, but before drama, we were rappers. So him and I used to do rap. So we were a duo called Mystery Boys. So it was like that. But then we found our love for acting, and that's what we went with. Most guys like we were with in school actually thought we were going to be musicians. That's how come I also found myself amongst musicians a lot. And later probably found Naupana musician.
A musician, because you came with a family, came from a music.
Exactly, I had sort that of music background.
Okay, so you changed from music. What made you change?
I don't know. I think I found a niche that I thought was going to work for me. And I love the way I think because I'm not myopic. I'm always looking ahead and know what would definitely come at that particular time. And I knew that my acting abilities at that time were so good because in 1990, 91, 92, for 3 consecutive years, I'd been winning Best Actor at national level in Natas. So I found myself really feeling like maybe this is actually the path that I needed to take up, or this is a path that I needed to go to. So yeah, that's how come I found myself in that line.
Do you have any musicians in the family? Do we have any other family members that are doing what you're doing other than Mwinemushi?
No, Mwinemushi, yes. As an actor, I have my other son who's a rapper. He's rapping, and to him, yes, but he's also an actor. He's my sisters are actors, and I mean actresses as well. So we're a family of mostly actors, and mostly I know it's because of my influence, being the eldest. Everyone now wanted to do what I was doing, and then they found themselves in the productions that they were finding themselves into. Yeah.
So when you look at acting, which particular actor, local or international, do you think you really looked up to, that you're saying,
I'll tell you one thing. I wanted to find myself, and I was believed to say, for me to be recognized out there, first of all, I needed to create an outline of who I really was going to be as an actor. Okay? One of my best actors, actually, not because he's my young brother, Robam is one of my best actors for one simple reason. Robam is not only about him being a comedian, but he's a brilliant actor and a brilliant writer. So
he writes as well.
Yes, yeah. Okay. I mean, for a person to write over 3,000-4,000 mwinemushi whatever to
I didn't know that they were
Lelem, but he was the one that was writing. So he's quite a very powerful social commentator. So I saw what he was able to do. He was my young brother, but there wasn't that thing where when you give him anything, he was just brilliant. And I think you remember he played Matongo at one point.
No, I remember.
Left, yeah. So pretty much that, yeah.
So on your parents' side, was there anyone who was doing acting? Anyone who was doing music?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
You see, my father was a banker. My mother was in her early years. She used to play netball for the national team in the early 70s. But I think I suspect that those genes come from my mother because I think she was quite dramatic. May her soul rest in peace.
Very dramatic, Shan.
No, just some of the things that she would do. You see, when Robam created Mwinemushi, what he did is he had to get different parts of people. He got our headmaster at Kasempo Boys, in a funny way. Then he got my mother's Bemba. Then he got my father's Jesus. So when he put them together, he created a persona that he went with as a character that he was now beginning to add. Yeah. So I think for me, those are some of the things that I really looked at and said, "Wow, these were quite interesting."
It's quite very creative as well. I would have never thought.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you went to CBU. What did you do at CBU?
Marketing. Yes, I'd started
How did that
marketing. I'd started marketing there, and then I think up to second year, I got a job with Direct Marketing Communications, which was based in Dollar. It was just a new company that was coming, and it was like, you know what? By that time, my father had stopped work, and it was like, okay, maybe if I push myself here to make myself survive, turotuma gig ulefwaya kambe kupushinga and then wasambo kulipira ifomula mwineto ayate mwamu. So when I found myself doing that, I said, I don't think I probably would want to continue. Maybe let me register myself. So I just registered myself with the CIM, Chartered Institute of Marketing. That's now where I started to do, because then it was easy. I was in a marketing company and I was now beginning to pay for myself.
So and that was a long distance?
Very busy. Hello?
It was long distance.
Yeah, Chartered Institute of Marketing usually is, but then we had centers. And I think, I remember that time our center in Dollar was Zibik. That's where we used to write our exams from. Yeah.
So how did you move from the Copper Belt to here? Because I know you as a Copper Belt brother.
Yeah, exactly.
Then Wasai Sanomba Kulusaka.
Yeah. When I used to work for a company called Direct Marketing Communications, I rose to manager there. So when I stopped work, in fact, before that, I used to come to Lusaka to record Dynamo Take Your Pick. After Andre Makulu.
I remember it. Yes,
after Andre Makulu, it was me. And I was young at that particular time. I think I must have been 27, 26, somewhere there. So it was easy. When I was with Direct Marketing Communications, we would travel a lot throughout the country. And I found myself in Lusaka often. So when I stopped working on the Copper Belt, it was easy for me to just say, since I'm so used to Lusaka, let me move to Lusaka. So that's how I came here in 2002. Yeah, 2002.
What was your major breakthrough in the film industry in Zambia?
In the film industry?
Because I know you did a lot of things, but which one is it that actually, just gave you that springboard?
I think it was The Lawyer by... executive produced by Steve Nyirenda, and that was a movie TV production. I remember I'd gone there to audition for a part of a policeman. So I auditioned, and then the director then, Dominic Chisembele, said, no, I think why not play the lead role with Nalukumu Fungulo, and that's how I found myself there. And then later did we know that that was going to be the first movie to show on big screen and brought a lot of people. And then I think that for me was a serious breakthrough. The second one was Rungano Nyoni's Mwansa the Great, because Mwansa the Great was nominated for the BAFTA in the UK, and I was
is it?
Yes, and I was part and parcel of that as a lead actor again. So those were my more like springboards before I started creating my own content. Yeah.
So before you started creating your own content, I know you're in Kapanana as well. And just last week we were speaking to Mr. Thompson, and I think your name popped up.
Yeah.
What role did you play in Kapanana?
I used to play the lawyer Chembo. That was Matongo's lawyer. And that was a very interesting role because I remember the atmosphere that we had on set, and even the first time that I shot on TV, and people were like, "Hey, where's that lawyer? And that was the first time I was meeting people like you.
What the lawyer was?
Eh?
What the lawyer was?
Crooked lawyer. Because Matongo's role was crooked. I found myself trying to sort out his cases and everything. And then later on, I had to fall in love with Tracy. These storylines are in soaps and all that. So, yeah.
And then after Kabanana, then you decided you wanted to...
Yeah, no, actually after Kabanana, that's when I more like said, you know what? I need to start doing my own things. Let me start by shooting my own movies. And at this time now, I'd started creating my own content. And it was because of a young lady I'd met at that particular time. But you know what? I think instead of you only acting, why not try as much as possible to begin to create this? And then I said, okay, but how am I going to start? I don't even have a script. Then she said, okay, you know what? There's a movie called, I don't know, I've just forgotten the movie. I'll write it word by word, and then you can actually adapt that and shoot it into a movie. And lo and behold, that's how I shot my first movie, which was called The Wife.
So this lady, was she your girlfriend? Were you just...
Oh, yes. At that time, she was my girlfriend.
Okay.
Yes.
So she gave you that inspiration.
Yes, inspiration. Kwali bafe bamu abana kashi. Bali kwata fekali akakwebati. Even when ngamulinanko, you can even begin to see that things begin to put themselves into place. That's why inginde baba chana ile ole for kupa. You can feel the energy. Palape nefe wayamba. Kula babamo leole yamba kadiru wako ete tonso trupira tuaya. Not that bale kulira olupia. They're not even chewing your money, but shabu tukafi. Then there are those, the moment ule bafena nkwamba fuku mono tufintu kwa isa okakale isa ifo fuwa kulufa kwa na tuika la pachalo instead itali tuleshi but I think uyumu aiche she's a lucky charm. So fimwe fintu fuwa bantu balingira waisho kwa banga walimfu echipemba babanda bamubalanda atali kwa techishiru efu balanda ichishiru
I
think there's a word like that in Chipemba. Kwa wafu bamu ngai save pa place uli au confusion fenga ya isa no konsekala wako eto wadaba fetu wabu tuka bali yabu wangu tontongani. So yomwaiche actually is the one who just made me now realize I needed to begin to create my own stuff, and from that I've never relented. I just started popping them out.
So away from the film and from the film industry, in general terms, what you're saying is that sometimes ama partners wambi tukwata either wala tuwesha panshi or tuwala pamundu.
I'll tell you one thing, Ken. All the biggest, greatest men ngawabe pusha to say what is the biggest achievement I should have if I'm going to reach the highest level. They will tell you to say marry the right woman.
Nombantu washasha na tali right to you.
Ifonde kweba. Pakwamba palapende.
Yeah.
Echo abasungu bayitira courtship. Palapende pakwamba just immediately you are starting, you can begin to see certain things. There are certain habits ngamwaya mona. What you do is that don't say uyumwa changa na mupafika pwa no. Habits when they go into marriage they become 3 times more than what you're saying at that particular time. So it's not like ifila atafipwa. So you can begin to see those things. Wambo kumona webera I think apa this is exactly what and at that time I remember I just divorced, so it was one of those things that
it was after your marriage.
Yes, that was after my marriage.
I thought it was before, because I want to get you at what age did you get married?
I got married at I think I must have been 27 or 26.
How long the marriage last?
The second one lasted for 10 years.
What do you mean second one?
This is a part. It's good that because you are the first one who is now beginning to know something about me that most people don't know. Actually, I had my first marriage.
Okay.
From 2000.
Yeah.
Yes. That only I think lasted 1 year something. Mm-hmm. And all that, and then I saw Mamu. I think maybe this is one of the biggest problems that I accept I have, because in Engatafire Bomba, I realized at a younger age to say Fumamu.
Or maybe you're too young.
No, not because I was too young. I'll tell you one thing. I don't say I was a failure in marriage. Mm-hmm. I say I became a professor because I now realized and found out the reasons why marriage at certain levels can't work. So I'm not going to ask a person who has a very, very good marriage life to say, how is your marriage? This is what you should tell me. No, I'm going to ask a person who has failed marriage, because they will tell you all the signs and the things that shouldn't have happened. Okay, I regret certain things, yes, because I was young and I was I don't want to do this because I didn't want, and I ended up getting into my second marriage with Savoy, and then again after 10 years it didn't last. I said, no, I can't. Again, I went and divorced her, and then you see, you get the point. So those are some of the things that for me really began to bring me to a certain point where I started thinking, at what point was I going to grow? Or is my life circumstantial? Or is this a journey that I've chosen that I'm going to go on with? Okay? So those are some of the things that really have really defined my life. And those things that I look back and I say, well, I shouldn't have done that. But hey, I don't regret every moment that I found myself into.
Tell me, how did you and Savoy meet?
We met, I think this was through JK. Because JK...
Was it the times of Chattel?
Yes, the time.
Okay.
I think this was the time they had done their second album, Unbreakable. And at that time, because every time I came from the Copper Belt, I would stay by JK's place. If not JK's place, I would be around Lusaka. Now, because JK and I had come from Undola with Wile, so we were more like jailing, we're buddies, because I was promoting different brands using music, and that's how I came to meet her, yeah.
So you're married for 10 years?
Yes, I think we were married for 10 years.
How was the marriage?
Well, it was. Every marriage has got its own inani.
I don't know of a perfect marriage.
No, there is nothing like a perfect marriage. There is nothing like
But there's just one issue I want to speak about, because I would not want to get into marriage issues, because that's really not what we're here to talk about. But there was one issue, Owas, that landed you in prison.
Oh, yes.
I'd like to speak about that, because you and me, we've never really spoken about it.
I love talking about prison.
So what happened? Before we go into prison, what happened? What was the problem?
Well, the problem was marriage.
Okay.
Issues to do with the vehicle. You know, where you buy something using someone as a consignee, and then all of a sudden you discover that signatures at that particular time, this sort of thing. And then after all.
Okay, first. So, madam and then what happened to Okay.
Nomba, even so because we have a consignee, you get the point.
Yeah.
So when that matter now comes, I say a number if I say it's a number, if I say if you become missionary, and you get the point.
Yeah.
Number, I say number, I say each on them chayishire emotionally and chintu chand mwamfwen elo echo because you and I were husband and wife so as a result ichipe chayisa abakashibobeta balipo bakonsaini so kairi bakashi
usaina
yo ine for men I've taught men I said be careful. One day what we regard as small little things in our lives can land you in problems. So even as you are married, be careful with certain things.
So for you it was just an easy thing, definitely.
Yes, it was an easy thing. And for me what I believe in is in marriage 1 + 1 is equal to what?
1.
It's equal to 1. So meaning even when you take such matters, it means it's supposed to be like in 1. But number so those are learning curves in life, and that's exactly what I learned through those years, because then I started seeing, and I've told my children kwali baba nalimo olwali ku school bali temwa filefia palate no this is kusaina homework no me I know how to sign my dad's I said take question. These things one day in your life will become a problem. Be careful as men as well. Ngire why mat no bakashbandi since tabalipo balebombera ko kunanikana balebombera kushangombo so inene bondi popano kaindi mulume wako let me sign for her. One day of case apiribuka takwa bati bakashbandi.
So what caused this kupiribuka okutorera ndapo? Mwaritendekene and then
akabiri by that time nish nomba na tufuma tetatule ikala pamo and everything, and so those are now the problems now that started coming to haunt and so that's how I found myself there. But you know one thing, I don't regret talking about jail, because without jail, and if anything I want this to be on record, I actually thank the situation itself as it happened, because if it didn't, I probably wouldn't have inspired myself to where I had been. I always believe that before you shoot a bow and arrow, you have to pull it back. So when I went to jail, it was like I went into a retreat. I had to re-engineer myself in readiness for my comeback. So when I came back, I remember when I came back from jail, I had a mind that was so different. I had a lot of things that I wanted to do, and I had a point to prove in life, because then I was like, no, I said, no, think about it. In fact, if you research properly, almost all great people have passed through jail. Now, in jail also, you learn another more powerful phenomenon, and that is how you begin to relate with knowing God, because God can never be pushed out of this sort of thing. And I realized to say God lives among us prisoners. This has been debated, but I told someone,
God lives among us prisoners.
Oh, my friend, God lives among us prisoners. That I can
tell.
Why
would you say that?
The things they go through, it's amazing, it's phenomenal, and you can know there's a God. Why? I'll tell you, that's the more reason the Bible has mentioned prisoners several times. Nali muchifungo tawaishire mbona. Why? There has to be something that was powerful about it. When I went into jail, people bamboku paper 05. By 07 bachiri bale paper. 10 hours bambe bala ingira bale paper. So the only thing that people know there is kulya, okusamba, nokupepa. So that it's a different sphere that you find yourself, and you are like, I needed to be here. And I remember when I got in, the first thing that was like, I'm going to appeal, I can't live here.
How many
Bampere 6
months?
Yeah, but there's that 2 months remission, so I came for 4.
For 4. Were you expecting this judgment?
No, I wasn't actually.
You thought walaya, then walabuela.
Dude, not at walaya na labuela. I actually just thought, it was going to be a discharge to say, go and sort this. This is supposed to be a civil matter.
Yeah.
When I sat down, and in the case normally minimum is 3 years. But I sat down, under 6.
6 months.
Yes. Linda wani njikala pale ngwangwa na salolesha njibelefo ya labef elo nila kwa tuwachia na fianse na usendeta wachi wana prepared bala kupere judgment.
Yeah.
Ni vula nsapato fianse kuingira wamu kuingira kwa pasenda na kasalanga.
And meanwhile you had some projects waiting, some things to do.
Exactly. everything goes, and you see the way it is, it's like wafwa, but ulelolesha, and everything stands, stand still. Because when they put you back there, you have to start thinking there. The good part is that if you have certain influence and you are magical on the outside world, there's nothing that changes inside, because the inside is also a big community, and you need to learn how to survive there. You find niba nalanda na wokenga nalanda noko, because nafikirire pachitakataka on day 1 say or 3 muli abalonga abantu abakoba ati namulala na molo na muchitana nika epo nafikirire muntu wandi. I was saying I was never going to survive the next day. Na isa afuma next day njebere kanonga teyo asmuilate ana wero na isa lolesha na nalate ashani. The good part at that time, my advert there was an advert for one of these big corporations that was running, and I was the one who was in it. So bale itamba bonsama prisoners. So nde ingira family na mwana na chindi. Na chindira njebere. Nikuisata kuseo 16. Eko baba mwemfumo. Na dawa fena banjitana ikala kulia. No guys. Nishan twala ikala shani. Miladira inekule. Tapabo kabia mseo 13. Twala kupela na bed. Efo na ingire mseo 13. Elo mulemu ali ama people that teach.
Okay.
Yes. So that's how I found myself there. So now my survival plan began, and I knew to say, I needed to do this. But one inspirational person I met who actually even made me not start thinking of going out was Matthew Mohan. Matthew told me one thing. He said, why are you wasting time to appeal a 6-month sentence when there are people in this jail that have not even been given any sentence, but they don't even know, and their next date is probably in December. This is actually making sense.
And the other thing, basa kusanga futi no molandu ntu basa kupera 3 years futi.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yes, I said double. So no, it don't safe. Astwa donsa. Otoki, chaiwa. Chaiwa, otoki. Kairi munani kani, language yes mule. So ineta pari mutunga sanga, kuisansanga fenichi, ngatu akumana, tole shiba. Astwa, donsa. Nishikai mule donsa, kuna donsa miaka. Astwa, donsa. Otoki, chaiwa. So from there, I was even transferred kufam kunanikani yokuku Mwembeshi. Mwembeshi prisons, yes.
And how was it there? Who did you meet?
Well, that one was at that particular time when I looked at it. It's an open prison, or at least Mulepe Momwela. But here's where the problem was. I think sanitation was terrible. You get the point. And then there again, Asangati officer in charge. School paka sempa boys. So ndefika fe anyanta mo jombo na ifika na blue band. So the only thing now that started happening is I started now learning farming and everything and all that. So for me, when I say I love it, I went there because it actually gave me a different way of thinking. Even friends I had, this was a time now when I had to know whether I needed to be with friends or I just needed to just say, I don't think I need this. So those are some of the things that I went through. And I said, I think this is good. So even when I came out charged because mulana le imiafienshi mbi no kutashan. So now fubinene chuvi build
danjevere. Chest.
Yes, I remember the first person, Costa. I came out on a Tuesday. He was hosting me on the show pa Saturday njeva. Kwa muntu akujele alewe na build.
No, but truth be told, you know, Owas, you are a living example of somebody who, who's given lemons and then they end up making lemonade. You know what I mean? I saw it and I think I mentioned to you, I said, what shocked me is when you went in, you were at this level. When you came out, you are highly motivated and from then on, you've only done great things.
Oh man, I praise God.
Because people get broken.
Oh, they get broken. But I was very happy because in those 4 months, my brother, I remember what happened was, I think it's the last commissioner of prisons. Yeah, Mokusa mfumia prison to be taken on smooth talk. I was in prison, but I was on smooth talk. I now began to more like inspire people because for me, I didn't take jail as something that was going to bring me down. No, I said, no, not this. This can't bring me down because it was in jail that I started, what is this? I remember shooting and directing General Kanene's music video. Yes, Muchifungo. It was there. I released it when I was in jail. Kanene. He was also in jail. Yes, Twalinangwe. Now here's what happened. I actually wrote to the officer commanding when I was in jail. I said, look, me, I'm a filmmaker. If you incarcerate me, don't incarcerate my brains. So I would like my equipment to be brought to jail.
Yes.
So they brought all my filming equipment.
Oh, really?
Jail. Yes. It was staying in the officer commanding his office. And so even when I was shooting the video and everything, I was shooting it from jail. And then I started teaching people drama in that outline. Yeah. So those are some of the things that I began to do. I remember at that particular time, we sitting down with General Kanene, Ndemweva. If he was here. That's why when General Kanene was released, and I remember very well from Kabwe, at around 24 hours, he called me and said, Mdala Manichosa. Because what I had told him is exactly what worked. I said, Mwachwand, you've got a talent. For you to come here and you start fighting the government of the day will not work. What you need to do, start releasing songs. Do songs. And if you remember all those beautiful songs that came out, he actually had them released from there because we had a very powerful commission. Commission of prison at that particular time who appreciated art. So what he used to do is they would let him go out to Ayak studio, prison wada, Ayak the record comes back, and the songs were being released. And that's a sort of prison we want. It was not about. What do they say? It was not about retribution. Yeah. You get the point? It was more about how do we inspire others so that they look at it and say, look, even if I'm here, I can still be useful to society.
So did you and Kanene know each other from before?
Yes. We knew each other from before because of the music, whatever. But when I got there, that's how we now gelled and we became like good buddies there. He was in the next cell. Me, I was sharing a cell from cell 13. I went into cell Pina Block where they keep the lifers and those who are armed robbers. So we were in the same cell with Matthew Mohan and some other guy. I think we were the three of us. So that's how come I now also started learning the mind of how people can be inspirational. Because sometimes I would wake up in the night around 02. Wasakasanga ka Matthew. Nakekala na kolona. Nakekala mukona. You will finish with you know.
He's a very smart guy.
Very smart. Some of the things he would tell you and some of the things I was like, wow, you are brilliant. And I remember that time it was around 03. Kaisanjevat, you know what? You found yourself in a mess. But you know when a mess edges, it becomes a message. I was like, wow. And where you stumble, that's where the treasure is. And I can assure you, even right now, if you look at Matthew, you can't tell me that Matthew was even incarcerated for about 11 years. No. So that's why I'm saying
doing very well for himself.
Yes, exactly. It's sometimes you get into those places, regardless of what they have done, there's a certain inspirational part that they bring to your life and that you run with. That's why when I looked at it, I look at certain things, I'm like, no, this can't move me. I think what I needed is to go out there and push myself and get into the journey that I had wanted.
So, do you think prison brought you more closer to God?
Oh, yes, of course.
Grew your faith?
Yes, yes. Because there are certain things that I will tell you I went through. And I remember very well when I was being transferred from Chimbokaila to Mwembeshi. I knew to say Balefat no mbanje nchule because kuleni hard labor. Because even when you just see the prisoners kutuamfa muntu wandi Because I had started praying, I remember in that van, that's why Olopanole mbole muntu wanishiraba njendana corona mumukosh. You know what happened? You know what happened? Muntu wandina irende pepa corona the whole way. Ndea mkufika. Pa entrance fende ingirati pa. I look behind. Who do I see? The officer in charge. Who is the officer in charge?
Yeah, like you said.
I could tell that all these things that are happening is God. I was sent to prison with hard labor to go and suffer in prison. But I can tell you, I actually went in there, learned things that were more inspirational to me and some things that I would inspire others. And I started seeing life in a different way and just began to see it, to say, God wanted me to pass through this because there's something that is prepared for me. And for me, those are some of the things that I try to bring out to people to say, sometimes when you see you're going through certain things, don't really feel like this is the end of you. Actually, that's when your journey is just beginning.
Were you bitter when you went in after you came out?
Unfortunately, I'd never been bitter. Even when I came out, even now, I'm not bitter because I actually saw a lot of good out of it than bad.
Are you in good terms with your ex-wife?
Oh yes, of course. We talk. Well, I mean, we have children, and if you remember very well, there were times non-tabloids would want you kufaya bale kuipshat na alikan up to now na dilanda njebele look baliani banyina babana bante. Dating dande olomponte fiapa. My children have now grown. They are working with me. And they have questions that they ask. Now you can imagine the
other thing also is that, look, things that happen in marriage, and I'm asking these questions not to paint Savoy black because she's a good friend of mine. Both of you are. So it's just really to try and understand the story. And I like the fact that, look, but I like the stance that you've taken, and I think this is why you're getting the blessings that you're getting.
Yeah, I mean, we're very good friends, and it's uliche boy, vintu vyenda bwanje, uliche, nish. And also, I think, for me, I believe she had done her time because God was now preparing another person who was now going to come into my life. You get the point?
Yes.
Because then I discovered life. Not that I'm saying this was a bad one. No, ali bombe nchitako. But nomba wa ishirisa munamona njebele. Uyu nomba. Panto wa number. Yeah. 3. Remember fintu fisa icha number 3. Echi kala no kukosa. So namona njebele aka. Kaiche. Ninkachile miaka about 15. But na mano na you win oyo.
So you got married after prison?
After prison, yes, I think after 2 years.
So how did you meet with
your
current?
Because nadisa mona njebe if yakwewa tule twala bakashuba kulandikani. Tekwesha. Nati awe iwo mwandi ulikaliruba mwandi kala febuno na kula kusungilira.
I've heard many people say people can't destroy what they don't know.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes. People always kill what they know. That's exactly the whole point.
So how did you guys meet?
With
your current wife?
That was like that was after some time Niship fine fiongo file chitikand and all that. That's when we now.
Was it love at first sight?
No, not really. Because we don't want to South Africa. Ekona mwishibire. Yes, no bamukulanda filafine. No ndafo kuisa mkensenga fuisha ko finata isa to amwafa ko fine. Amana njebere. Kwenu oyu. Che moneka kutina mona fechi ngaba mwe.
Yeah.
Au na mlolesha by that time na lolesha na mona back view ilife wino group. Na mona na lolesha pa chest na pali moneka fe wino dashboard na ile na mona fe piu na mona rage na ile moneka fe ati ni standard.
Adintu mpela bana basum.
Awe njebele awe tapali uko twala chitana nikani. Awe kuimini na fena nko nomba mini na pa mwachwa na ishidela nda fena nko muli 5 minutes muntu wandi. Ninji mini na 100. Na imini na 180 degrees perpendicular to the ground. Elu nasa mubikila buffalo stance. Mdalo kuisa mufuishila. Au mwachasa mina yonse story.
program
yapwa bushali fimweneno koba tinalipo na mchifungo chake awe asamona febere nyaba beni. You get the point. Nata much wantwala kusunga efe tu aba nivo fe new motu. So life is that way, you know. If you're artists, so if you interview on so to lesa muku filolesha and everything, and the good part is asa amba nombo fefa koba tamba nombo kusunka ambo kumonefe wate mwafira finelo ambo kukwate ambo kuchita nati iwe tule satukupele mbala minwe.
And the rest is history.
Ni fast kuchipinda.
Let's speak about your professional life in terms of film now. You're an entrepreneur and stuff like that. How did you put your company together?
I'd started my company, Oram Experiential Marketing, in 2003, actually. 2003. But it was a marketing company at that particular time. And I remember 1999, I had a stint in Nairobi. I'd seen what they were doing in terms of media and all that. I always wanted to have a media company, but that didn't work. So I concentrated on marketing because that was the in thing at that particular time. That was what I'd started. So I still more like continued doing road shows because I had done road shows for so many multinational companies. But then I still wanted to do media. So when I found myself into film, that's when now I thought of starting Oram Media, which now was strictly to do with films and motion picture.
What are some of the productions that you've done under your media company?
Oh, there's The Wife, Vindanda, Girls to Ladies, Chenda. I've done about 20, is it 18? About 18 movies. And some of them I had to take them to CourtQuest as the distributor. And this was after I started being friends with Mingeli Palata. May he so rest in peace. He pushed me to CourtQuest, and that's how I found my productions on international airlines, and because those are big distributors. So then I discovered this is where I can go. Because you see, the problem with Zambian market is that we don't have the numbers. Okay? Film is more lucrative out there. That's how come I started now finding other platforms like iFlix, like the same CourtQuest, Africa Unite, because those guys out there will distribute your films, and then at least they can give you the monies that you really, really would be like, okay, this is what I want. So yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
So when your film is on airlines and so forth, is it a good pay at the end of the day?
Oh yes, but you get paid through CourtQuest.
Okay.
So CourtQuest at that time, what they would do is that they would give you you'd agree a package. So you say, okay, we are getting through of your films, and this is what you have. So it's a back and forth thing, because most of the time you really have to know how to budget, and you really need to know what you're sending them. So it's in dollars. So when they pay you, walikale from mwenati nomba iwe ifine mchitefima filmu ifi nimutambisha kuisa pati ya upya nishani it's a business. And I keep telling the young ones who want to do films, I say, look, don't get inclined and no, I want to shoot a film. I want to know. First of all, understand the business of film. There's film business and the business of film. If you don't understand the business of film, no matter what you're going to do, you get frustrated because wafipanga shani, but whereas if you go and speak to the right people, I'll give you a very good example of Big Lawrence Thompson. Big Lawrence Thompson knows where to step. You find that Lawrence has been out. He doesn't know, but he's a fixer. When they were doing Black Panther, he was the one who was fixing. Before you realize they're shooting a movie, it's on Netflix. So those are the people you go to instead of saying half the time ilingaba icheba idabush because ngapanga ngasa sangati tapali for chile pangachi parking So now there's nothing good. So the business of film itself is very, very important and very, very sensitive. Even when you sit down with a person, it's like it's drug business. I always tell people this. To say film business is like drug business. Takwaba muntu wandi in drug business where umuntu alakwe but dealing anabalia elo bakakuperefi. No. It's a business. So even if you want to come to me and tell me to say, Bakalamba, don't come to compete with me. No, sit down with me and learn so that I teach you how to pitch to get a deal like from Zambezi Magic. Because one of the biggest things that I'm good at is pitching.
Yeah.
I walk into a room, Dala, I can pitch a project in less than 30 seconds. And someone would be like, Dala, how can we work together and make it work? Now, that's an art that you just don't get easily. You need to also begin to teach other people. Okay? But how do you teach them? They need to be receptive enough to sit down and say, Bakalamba, filamu alishwakale twalela ndati, wayafu kamena bakulwati, bo Bakalamba mpeni amano.
Yes.
Every film business, Now I'm trying to tell it from the point that I feel to say this is how it, because if you are not careful, it will frustrate you like no man's business. Especially in this part of the world. Because here it's just okay, bachitwala ku premier, then what? But ask from premier so from here who do I see? And then it's a closed business, mama. So to bring people in, you need to know
But in terms of local partnerships and sponsorships, is it easy to get sponsorship for movies from the corporate world?
No, it's not. Bureaucracy, because most of them don't actually believe that this is an industry that can push anywhere. You get the point. So half the time kutimwaisa ikala mwamonati now what is happening here? Then you discover it's not anything that you'd want to. We've had to sit down with a lot of companies. They can't. So we thank big broadcasting houses like if you need to live at Zambezi, because you know why?
Zambezi Magic has changed the game.
Yes,
really,
they're
if you think
helping
about
a lot.
It.
So,
because what they're paying, nobody's paying, isn't
exactly.
it? Yes.
You get the point.
Yeah.
Nobody is. In Africa, I can tell you no one is. So if they are there, and then you want to fight the system instead of trying to better it, then you have a problem. Because what we need in a country like this one is we need proper systems. Okay? Proper systems will create proper collaborations. Proper collaborations now begin to create proper platforms for us to now begin to see things from a different perspective and try as much as possible to go out there. I always tell people to say, you can't go in another country. Oh, therefore, South Africa. Look, so you think about South Africans, they'll wait for you at your No, it doesn't work like that. Where you are is where you should shine. When you shine and you go into South Africa or you go to Hollywood, they will say, oh, this is Mr. Owas Mwape. He's a big filmmaker from Zambia. Then then what? So those are some of the things and tricks of the game that people need to understand and say, okay, maybe I need to find myself here. Yeah. But we are too political.
That is the problem. Owas, I know that you've won quite a number of awards. I remember the award of is it best Zambian actor? You got it 3 times. What accolade is that?
I've won quite a number. Under NAMA, I think about 3.
Can we talk about them?
Yeah.
Specifically,
then,
can we?
Yeah.
For those who don't know.
Yeah. Like for example, when ZAFTA began, I won. Just when I came out of prison, I won best actor. Then there was best director and best film overall at that time. Then again, when we came to the multi-choice ZAFTA Awards, I had a lot of nominees, but I remember I won best director. Robam got best writer, and our film Strictly by Invitation won best film overall. And then there's a lot of recognition awards from different festivals that I've gotten. So there's a number of awards. So I'm a multi-award winning.
No, you've done well for yourself, and well deserved. Yeah.
So I'm still thinking of winning awards. Though I'm awards in it, I feel recognition is more powerful. Yeah, recognition is more powerful than an award, because in an award you don't get recognized. You go in for competition. And I love to quote a great guy who said, artists don't compete, only horses do.
Only horses compete. Huh?
Yes, only horses compete. Because in an artistic dispensation, if you look at the way we are seated here, each and every one of these guys here is playing their part. So there's no way that you are going to now say, you all to compete. No. Each and every person has to bring
something to the table.
Create. So if you are not bringing people together to create, then it becomes nothing. You
did some work on Zuba. What exactly did you do?
I was directing. I think I directed about 720 episodes.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. So that for me was pretty much of what I'd been doing there. And not only that, I was running, because I ran a casting agency called Oram Casting Agency. So we were providing cast to them, and all these big shows that you saw on Zambezi Magic, most of the lead actors, they were coming from our agency. Yeah.
Pamaliketi, was that your production?
Yes, Pamaliketi is my production. I'm the executive producer for season 1 and season 2. Season 2, which begins and which date? I think next week. Yeah, it actually begins next week. Yeah. And then, of course, now executive producing Nkondo.
Yeah. You were nominated for the Zikomo Awards. Was it the best director?
Yes.
What was that nomination?
Yes, it was a nomination. I was nominated for Zikomo Best Director, and yeah. Of course, someone
was also nominated.
Yes, once for Mwansa the Great. I was in the film.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember that's a film that was done by Rungano Nyoni. That was her first film that she ever did when she came to Zambia. Yeah. So yeah, pretty much.
Owas, I just want to speak about really quickly. What are some of the most challenging situations? Being a movie director and someone being in the movie industry now in Zambia. I'm asking this question for somebody that's thinking of getting into this business.
I think number one is, first of all, we need to understand the business. That's what I said. So the challenging part is always understanding the business. The second part is always trying as much as possible to not get lost into the story interpretation. I think that's where a lot of people mess it up. Now, I always love to say this. This is about myself. For me, being a director is not a job or career. It's a lifestyle. So that's why if you look at Hollywood, most of the powerful directors are actually old men. Martin Scorsese, Michael Bay, Oliver Stone, Steven Spielberg. Now, there's something in common about them. They're old. You know why? For you to direct a piece to its nucleus, you need to have seen life. You cannot go and direct a person to say, for example, I'm just giving an example, give me an orgasm, and I want it done in this way, if you've never experienced that. That's why I said, nothing ever becomes real until it is experienced. I see and I forget. I hear and I remember. But I experience and I understand. So the most experience you get, the most powerful directors are always old people. Because when they bring something to a project, they bring a certain sort of experience that people now begin to say, wow, how did he even think about it? It's probably mbiari film to United States or mbiari ku Malawi amone certain things. So half the time, some of the things that we see in our day-to-day life are the things that give us the acumen to just sit there and direct them out.
Chris Mukuli, You're very close.
Yes.
How did his death impact you?
Well, I mean, I couldn't believe it. Chris was a guy that taught me, because he was a great writer. I knew Chris in the 90s, late 90s, when he was marketing manager for Society for Family Health.
Yes.
And at that time, I was marketing those products on road shows. So later on, we met, fast forward, in the later years, and he now began to teach me something else, especially in writing. You know, what people don't know about writing is that in writing, there are certain characters that you need to know. Who is a hero? Okay? Who is an underdog? Who is a protagonist? Who is the antagonist? So now, whenever you look at something like that, it became more. And because it was very well read, it was something that was very powerful. And that's why he was the head writer for Zuba. And now the project that I'm doing in Kondo, he was actually the story custodian. And interpretation actually came from, and adaptation came from him. So that was about Chris. It was quite an impact, yeah.
One of the questions I wanted to ask you is, in all this time, have you ever found yourself abusing drugs, alcohol, cigarettes?
I have never found myself. Yes, a couple of once in a while, but most people who know me will tell you to say I'm not that heavy drinker. But I found myself in a predicament where my son actually is abusing drugs heavily. And I sat down and I thought about it, because this is a serious problem in a lot of homes where people are keeping children who are on drugs, but they're scared to come out because they feel, if I come out and talk about my child as drugs or
others also don't want to be judged as a family.
Exactly. Yeah. And mostly people don't want to be judged as a family. But I came out and I said, no, not me. I'm going to go out there to the world and ask for help.
Yes.
And my question was simply, guys, for those people that have found themselves in such kind of a thing, me as a parent, how do you find yourself trying to sort out this problem? And I found my inbox was packed with a lot of people now trying to tell me, I also have a problem with this person, I have a problem with my son, this is what is happening. And those are some of the things that I discovered I've been trying to fight. You can be successful, yes, but like right now, I'm really in trouble, because no matter how you can keep him at home, little time he will go, he's high.
How did you discover that he was abusing
You know,
drugs?
I actually discovered that when there was a time he ran away from home. So when he got back, so now I could see Namboku Monairako Watolo, Lelanda Nankonirako Watolo, Monamu, you finish was tapadi. Then later on, he said it. He said, no, nacha cheese. What is cheese? I know it's this.
Don't work with cheese niche.
You get the point?
Yeah.
The next you are no nina nikane. But then I could send no, me I had friends about the pepe fiamba. This is now. And then as time went on, I started seeing a situation becoming a problem. Now here's where the problem comes in. No, mutwale in rehab, mutwale careful. You just don't take a child to any rehab. Because I'm a rehab. Those are actually the ports for where these drugs are taken to. So I said, hey, I ain't gonna go this route. Let me find the right people. And it's good that I found the right the right people who've spoken to me, and we are trying to see if that is definitely going to work. Because I think what I've observed is that when a child is on drugs, that's the most painful thing you can ever go through.
As a parent.
Yes, because you sit down and try to say, What do I do?
The other question is that where did I go wrong?
Where did I go wrong? And that's the biggest question every person asks. Where did I go wrong? But but why? Why are you doing this? Why? It can't. And then when they reach a point where you even know to say, because some people want to take the matter into their own hands. They say, I found some parent somewhere, and then the guy went into withdrawal. Those withdrawal symptoms are terrible. Now you're seeing your child going through that. So it's very painful. It's very painful.
So are you seeking any professional help?
Yes, of course. I've been trying, and I'm still doing that. The good part is I've started getting. Sometimes I get calls from as far as Australia and all that, and they try to see how they can help. There are so many organizations. There are some in South Africa. I still have hope, though. I still have hope. It's definitely going to work well for me.
When you decided to go public with this, was it a very easy decision to make?
It wasn't.
As a parent?
Of course it wasn't. But I reached a point where I said, you know what? The science of ulwele is a very powerful science. Ero muntu afika fe uleingira fe mchipatala wasanga ni nasi mwana kashi atufule nitakwaba no kulolera tule ipshati yewe nemukulu ndefu kufika fe wambo kuchipa because you just want to kweba upole. That's the situation.
It's not even a lie, man.
Oh, I'm telling you the truth, because now you reach a point you just say, if I just can do this, maybe someone will tell me to say, no, mleteni kuno here it worked because this one and this one and this one everybody pity them and then I can help. That's the situation I was in.
So Owas, I'll tell you why it was important for us to speak about it on the show. Ordinarily, I wouldn't have wanted to speak about it.
Yeah.
But I am very positive that we've got, from the people that follow the podcast, there's many that will contact you and obviously offer different solutions. And I hope that the next time we meet, we'll have found a concrete solution for the problem.
Oh, sure, man. Definitely.
No. So we've got a question for you from our previous guest as we wrap up. First of all, the guest did not know who the following guest was going to be, who the next guest or who they were asking the question to was going to be, right? And these questions are prepared by our team. So all you do is you pick a number. And so the question here is, have you ever gotten revenge on anybody?
I don't revenge because I always feel revenge consumes you. Because every time you get on the trajectory of trying to revenge, what begins to happen is that every time that begins to be an obsession. Because everything that you do, you just want revenge. But I think I've never been the kind of person that would want to revenge on anyone. So that I've never done.
Great. So you have to pick a question for our next guest. We have questions 1, 2, 3. So you pick a number, then I'll read out the question.
Okay, let's pick number 2.
Okay, so number 2 is, what has been the worst moment in your career so far? So this is a question from Owas to the next guest on the show. Owas, thanks a lot. It's been a great show.
Thank you.
I wish we could go on and on. My DOP kept on winding me up because obviously
we had a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we had a lot to talk about. And, you explained, you've told a story. And I'm very inspired by your story. I know that the viewers and the listeners are also inspired as well. Thank you for making time. I'm very happy that you came.
Thanks, my man.
Great. All right, so our guest has been Owas Mwape. My name is Kenny T. We're back again next week. Same place, same space. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.